Today, I bring you a stunning account that will challenge everything you believe about the afterlife. Zéphyrine Avalon suffered a serious accident, was between life and death, and had an experience that changed her vision forever. She claims to have seen a place that many call hell, but the truth about who actually goes there is very different from what we imagine. Before we start, comment here from which city you're watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more impactful stories like this. I clearly remember the days leading up to the event that would change everything. My life in Chicago was a harmonious blend of dreams and simple achievements. He worked as an interior designer, finding beauty in the details that transformed houses into homes. Each project was an opportunity to express my creativity and make a difference in people's lives. I always felt inspired by the city, with its imposing architecture and streets full of stories. My mornings began with a strong coffee on the porch of our old apartment in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. I remember the relaxed conversations with Brent, my husband, as he reviewed documents from his cases in the makeshift office we set up at home. Zéphyrine, have you ever imagined how many lives we can transform with a simple touch of color and light? He used to say with a smile, making me feel like the world was a place full of possibilities. These words resonated with me and inspired my art. Brent, with his calm demeanor and discerning gaze, was a dedicated lawyer. Although his world was full of debates and lawsuits, he always made time for us. During family dinners, between laughter and everyday stories, we felt the presence of something greater, a connection that made our moments even more special. Today was full of little victories, he told me, as Kai, our son, enjoyed every bite of his favorite dessert, apple pie. These simple moments, but full of love, were the foundation of our existence. The unexpected decision to have a child was in itself a turning point. We had never planned this change of direction, but when we discovered that I was pregnant, everything began to transform in a subtle and profound way. I remember the afternoons spent at the clinic, where anxiety mixed with unusual joy. "Are we ready for this adventure?" asked Brent with a tone of curiosity, while I just smiled, feeling new life pulsing inside me. Kai's birth brought with it not just a new being, but a new perspective on existence. Every laugh, every curious look from my little one made me rethink the value of time and human experience. Still, in the midst of so much happiness, there were shadows that crept in. In the last few months before the accident, I started having recurring nightmares. During my sleep, images of a serious car accident appeared, as if they were premonitions of something I still didn't understand. One such morning, as I was getting ready for a day of work, my best friend, Emily, noticed the worried expression on my face. "Zéphyrine, you seem distant. Is everything okay?" she asked, with genuine concern. I tried to hide it, but internally, the discomfort grew. She responded with a forced smile, saying, "I'm just tired, Emily. Nothing a little rest can't fix." However, that feeling persisted, leaving me with the strange feeling that fate had different plans for me. Life continued its course, with each day bringing its own little surprises and challenges. The city, with its vibrant energy, continued to inspire me and push me forward, even when night dreams disturbed me. In one of those moments of introspection, I looked at Brent as he read the newspaper in the living room. "Do you believe in omens?" I asked, my voice choked with emotion. He looked at me serenely and replied, "I believe that life speaks to us in mysterious ways. Zéphyrine, perhaps these dreams are just reminders of what we are capable of facing." Those words, although comforting, only added to the approaching mystery. This phase of my life, filled with love, challenges, and foreboding, shaped what I would later experience. Every detail, every dialogue, and every emotion seemed to set the stage for a journey that would surpass the barriers of what I knew. On that fateful day, the clock marked an early afternoon that, at first, seemed ordinary, but would quickly turn into a chapter of terror and revelation. I was on my way to a work appointment, driving through the busy streets of Chicago, when the unexpected disrupted the order of everyday life. As the sun set behind the skyscrapers, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple, I felt a chill run down my spine, as if something was about to happen. I was concentrating, mentally reviewing ideas for the new design project, when the deafening sound of skidding brakes and tires invaded my ears. In an instant, a truck, apparently out of control, invaded my path. "No, it can't be happening," I screamed, in a mix of panic and disbelief. The impact was overwhelming. I felt a sharp, searing pain that spread throughout my body, as if every cell was screaming in agony. The world around me began to fragment into disjointed colors and sounds. Amidst the chaos, I realized that time had slowed down. I remember watching the steering wheel turn violently in my shaking hands as the glass shattered and the deafening sound of the collision filled the room. "Brent! Kai!" I thought desperately, unable to distinguish if they were just thoughts or if there really was a voice calling me. My last sensations were of terror and confusion, followed by a darkness that enveloped me completely. When I regained consciousness, I realized that something extraordinary had happened. Instead of feeling the sharp pain and pressure of the injuries, I floated. I looked down and saw my own body, motionless and inert, being surrounded by the frantic efforts of the paramedics. "Zephrine, hold on tight," I heard someone shout, but my words couldn't come out, as if an invisible veil had stolen my voice. I was separate, observing from an angle I never imagined possible. As the professionals worked with precision and urgency, a feeling of strange peace began to come over me. The pain slowly dissipated, replaced by a feeling of lightness and calm that enveloped me like a soft blanket. "What's happening to me?" I thought, perplexed. At that exact moment, an almost hypnotic force began to draw me in an unknown direction. It was as if an invisible hand was leading me away from that chaotic environment, and, at the same time, inviting me into a new reality. The vision of paramedics and distant sirens began to become an almost insignificant backdrop in the face of the luminous immensity that unfolded in front of me. The car's flashing lights and cries of urgency were replaced by an almost sacred silence, a space where time seemed to have no relevance. "No more pain, Zephrine, only peace," my own mind murmured, as if trying to convince myself that this was all part of a greater journey. As I moved away from my physical body, I began to notice details I had never noticed before. The soft scent of the night air, the whisper of the wind passing between the buildings, and the faint glow of stars appearing on the horizon. Everything combined to form an atmosphere of farewell and promise, of a cycle ending to give way to another. Every second seemed to contain eternity, and I, torn between fear and curiosity, didn't know for sure whether I should cry or smile. Even in the midst of such disorder and uncertainty, an inner voice, calm and comforting, said that this was not the end, but just the beginning of something extraordinary. It was in this moment of pure vulnerability and revelation that my existence was irrevocably transformed. As the darkness began to give way to an intoxicating light, I felt an indescribable transformation. The chaotic environment of the accident dissolved into a sea of clarity, where the physical turmoil seemed to have been replaced by a cosmic calm. I, Zephrine, was now in a place that defied all earthly logic, a space where the laws of time and space merged into pure magic. The transition was abrupt but gently welcoming. Suddenly, everything around me became vibrant. The colors seemed to come to life, pulsing in symphony with a rhythm that echoed in my soul. "Where am I?" I murmured, although my voice didn't come out audibly. It was as if my words were absorbed by the universe itself. Instead, my mind communicated in a wordless language, full of sensations and emotions. I walked, or rather slid, across this new plane, where every movement was governed only by thought. The floor, or what appeared to be the floor, was an ethereal surface, translucent and full of sparkles that resembled shooting stars. Amid this immensity, soft, almost heavenly music filled the air. It wasn't a melody I could identify. It was something primitive and ancestral, as if the universe itself sang in unison. As I let myself be carried away by this mystical flow, I noticed a presence. "Do not be afraid, Zephrine," resounded a voice that did not come from my ears, but directly from my being. I turned around, and in front of me, a figure of light appeared. Its contours were delicate, and its form emanated a peace that warmed my heart. "You are on a crossing, a journey beyond the limits of the physical," the voice continued, now clearly the communication of a being that seemed to transcend human reality. "Who are you?" I thought, not with words, but with a question filled with curiosity and a hint of fear. The figure responded without hesitation. "I am Seraphiel, your guide on this path. Here, you are free from the bonds of the body, allowing your essence to explore the vastness of the cosmos within." His eyes, if they could be called that, shone as if they reflected every fragment of the light of the universe. In an almost symbolic gesture, he extended his hand, inviting me to follow him through landscapes that defied the imagination. As we advanced, the surrounding scenery constantly transformed. One moment we were enveloped by a field of ethereal flowers, where each petal seemed to whisper secrets of ancient ages. In another, we floated on an ocean of light, where each wave conveyed a sense of rebirth and hope. Communication with Seraphiel did not occur through common words, but through images and intense emotions. He vividly showed me moments of my life that I had already lived, as if I were watching a movie in slow motion, where every detail carried deep meaning. "See, Zephyrin," he conveyed, "your every action, no matter how small, has shaped the universe around you. The love you sowed, the small gestures of kindness, all of this is written into the tapestry of your being." The feeling was of being simultaneously inside and outside of myself, witnessing the beauty and complexity of my own existence. Each scene seemed to echo the idea that, even in the midst of chaos, there was an order, an intrinsic reason for everything. As the crossing deepened, the celestial music and vibrant colors intensified, taking me to a dimension where there was no fear, just the pure revelation of what it means to exist. Time, there, stopped being a barrier, and I felt surrounded by an embrace of light and peace that prepared me for the next choices on my journey. As I followed the luminous flow of this new dimension, a feeling of calm and amazement invaded every cell of my being. It was then that, amidst the whirlwind of colors and emotions, the presence of Seraphiel appeared, the angel who had manifested herself to guide me. Her figure, radiant and serene, seemed to float gently in space, and her gaze, full of compassion, gave me an inexplicable confidence. "Zephyrin," his voice echoed, not in words I heard, but directly in my mind. "You are at a point of transition. This is the time to revisit the tapestry of your existence." Confused, I tried to formulate a response. "What do you mean? Why now?" But again, I didn't need words to receive the answer. Images began to flood my consciousness, as if they were scenes from a movie unfolding in slow motion. Each memory, each gesture, gained new light and meaning before my eyes. Seraphiel reached out her hand, and in that ethereal touch, I was transported to a space where time seemed suspended. In an environment where colors mixed and sparkles intertwined, I saw my life unfold before me. First, the image of happy days with Brent and Kai was relived, scenes marked by smiles and tender moments that I often let go unnoticed. Each laugh shared, each look of complicity, revealed itself as an indispensable link in my being. "Though you always knew how to love intensely, even without realizing the power of each small gesture," said Seraphiel's voice, while I saw scenes in which my simple acts, such as the warmth of a hug or the delicacy of a smile, illuminated the paths of those who cross my life. Then, the review took on deeper and, at times, painful contours. I was faced with moments of indecision, moments in which my choices seemed to obscure the brightness of my essence. In one of these memories, I visualized a heated argument with a dear friend where the hurt almost eclipsed the love we had built together. "Every mistake of yours, every remorse is part of the great mosaic that is your existence," whispered Seraphiel, while a tear, long repressed, appeared in my eyes. I realized that it wasn't about judging my failures, but about understanding that they were fundamental to learning and growth. My past, filled with moments of both light and shadow, now presented itself as a lesson in humanity. Between silent whispers and raw emotions, the angel guided me through scenarios of love and loss, revealing that each choice, even those that caused me pain, were indispensable for my being. "Look at yourself, Zephyrin, and see how much you've evolved. The love you've spread, even unintentionally, echoes through the universe," he said, as the scene of a tight hug with Brent transformed into a mosaic of light and gratitude. In this whirlwind of memories and sensations, I realized that I was at a crossroads. The sight of my loved ones in the hospital, the suffering and anguish that had marked the moments after the accident, emerged strongly in my mind. "You have a choice," Seraphiel reiterated. "Remain on this plane of pure light, or return to the physical world, where there is still much to be experienced." His words reverberated within me, instigating deep reflection on the value of my existence and the experiences that defined me. Each memory, each emotion, was intertwined in a symphony that told the story of an intense life, full of love, challenges, and transformations. Feeling the weight of the decision, Seraphiel led me beyond the review of my life, opening a portal to a new scenario, the Temple of Knowledge. The crossing was as if I were being enveloped by a blanket of calm, where each step was guided by the promise of answers. As I passed through the portal, I came across a space that defied all human description. It was a majestic temple, built entirely of crystal and light, where each reflection created mesmerizing patterns on the transparent surfaces. Zephrine, this is the place where the wisdom of the universe reveals itself to those who seek the truth beyond appearances, Seraphiel murmured in my mind, her voice as soft as a summer afternoon breeze. I was amazed by the grandeur of that environment. The temple seemed to float in a timeless space, with columns rising toward an invisible ceiling, where light danced in multicolored beams, as if each particle contained an ancient secret. As I walked, I felt an inexplicable lightness, as if each step took me away from the pain and uncertainty of the physical world. The sound was minimal, just the subtle echo of a primordial melody that resonated like a call to introspection. All around me, other souls seemed to gather in meditation circles, silently sharing their connection with the infinite. It was then that, in the midst of this transcendent scenario, I came across a familiar figure who stole my heart, my grandfather, Everett Monroe. His serene face and look full of love made me feel as if time had stopped. "My dear Zephrine," he whispered, his voice seeming to come from every corner of that temple, "I know the journey has been arduous, but never doubt the power that resides within you." Emotion overflowed in me. "Grandfather, I felt so scared and confused," I confessed, my voice choked by the intensity of the reunion. He held me with a tender gesture, as if he wanted to convey the strength that only the wisdom of the departed can offer. Everything we experience, every choice and every tear, are parts of a great teaching. Here, in this temple, knowledge is not just a collection of words, but the essence of who we are. As we settled into a bright corner of the temple, I felt the teachings begin to reveal themselves. Wise souls, dressed in clothes that shone with the purity of truth, circulated around us, exchanging looks and gestures that transcended the need for words. I let myself be enveloped by the energy of this place, absorbing every nuance of light and wisdom that was offered to me. Seraphiel approached again and explained, "This temple is a repository of universal knowledge. Here, you can access memories, feelings, and learnings from ages past. Each crystal reflects a part of your journey, and each beam of light reveals an aspect of your inner truth." His presence, calm and enlightening, reinforced the idea that I was not alone in this search. There, in that environment of pure enlightenment, I rediscovered not only my grandfather, but also fragments of my own past and lessons that I had never realized. The temple, with its harmonious colors and sounds, was a reminder that knowledge was not something reserved for a few, but an inheritance that we all carry in our essence. As the experience deepened, a feeling of peace and reconnection came over me. Every ray of light that touched my face seemed to whisper that the love and wisdom of the universe were eternal, guiding us even in the darkest moments. After the serenity and splendor of the Temple of Knowledge, I felt the journey was about to take an unexpected turn. Seraphiel, with her serene and calm voice, led me through a corridor of light that suddenly began to transform. The brightness gradually gave way to shadows, and the environment that previously exuded peace and wisdom took on darker and more unsettling tones. "Zephrine, prepare for what many call a transitional state," Seraphiel warned, as we walked through a passage that seemed to stretch infinitely. The corridor turned into a kind of abyss, where the dim light could barely penetrate the depths of darkness. This place is not an eternal punishment, but a reflection of the anguish and negative patterns that some still carry. As I entered this space, I saw nebulous figures around me, souls that seemed trapped in a cycle of suffering and denial. Their faces showed sadness, regret, and above all, deep despair. Amid the tension-filled silence, I heard murmurs that mixed with the echo of ancient laments. "Why are they like that?" I asked, my voice shaking with both curiosity and fear. One of the souls, who seemed to stand out from the rest, slowly approached. His eyes, despite being dazzled by pain, conveyed a faint flame of hope. "We are trapped in our own negative thoughts," he explained in a hoarse tone, as if each word cost immense effort. "Every mistake, every decision made in fear, condemned us to endlessly reliving our suffering." His words resonated in my mind, making me reflect on the moments of regret and fear that, at times, also inhabited my heart. Seraphiel continued to guide us, interrupting the silences with observations that had a touch of compassion. "You see, Zephyrin, even here, there is the seed of awakening. These souls are not destined for eternal torment. They have the chance to break free, to find the love that frees them from their bonds." His eyes, shining with a soft light, swept the scene as if seeking to demonstrate that redemption is always within reach. As we walked, the landscape around us wavered between oppressive darkness and flashes of bright colors, as if hope was tentatively trying to emerge from the gloom. In a moment of pause, I sat on an irregular rock and carefully observed every detail of that place. "How can I help these souls?" I asked in a low voice, trying to understand the depth of the suffering I was witnessing there. Another figure approached, this time with an expression of serenity that contrasted sharply with the surrounding environment. "Help starts with understanding, with recognizing that we all face our own demons," she said, extending her hand in a gesture of solidarity. "The hell you see here is transitory. It serves as a mirror, revealing the darkness we carry and the need to awaken to the light." His words, soft and compassionate, brought a ray of hope even in that dark scenario. Seraphiel then resumed speaking, explaining that the true meaning of that place was to teach the value of transformation. "This environment is a living lesson. Even in the depths of pain and darkness, there is the possibility of rebirth. Every soul here has the chance to become enlightened, to transcend the cycle of suffering." As I took in each word, I felt that despite the sadness and grief that hung in the air, there was also a pulsing energy of renewal. There, in the vision of the transitory hell, I understood that the universe is shaped through love and overcoming. The transition from the spiritual realm to the physical world was without a doubt the most challenging stage of my journey. When Seraphiel warned me that the return journey would be painful, I felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. The idea of returning to my weakened body was distressing, but there was also, within me, the hope of reuniting with those I loved and the need to live what was left of my earthly mission. As he walked through a tunnel of light that seemed to stretch endlessly, each bright ray pulsed with an intensity that bordered on agony. "Get ready, Zephyrin." Seraphiel's soft voice echoed in my mind. "Your body needs all your love and strength to rebuild itself. The journey back will require you to fight through pain and fragility." I felt as if I were being pulled by an invisible current, each movement a monumental effort to bring me closer to that physical reality that, although painful, was my true home. As I progressed, memories of the radiant light and ethereal environment began to fade, giving way to fuzzy images of a hospital. I could see, for the first time, the outline of my own body stretched out on a stretcher, surrounded by the frenzy of professionals in action. "I'm coming back. I'm coming back," murmured my mind, mixed with a silent cry of hope. Amid the confusion, a feeling of warmth and urgency enveloped me, as if every fiber of my being was crying out for a return to life. When I finally passed through the tunnel, I was greeted by an explosion of intense sensations: the searing pain that made every heartbeat feel like a hammer, the soft, blinding light of the medical equipment, and the peculiar smell of disinfectant that permeated the air. "Zephyrin, open your eyes," I heard a doctor say, as Brent approached, his gaze filled with anxiety and relief. I tried to respond, but my words came out choppy, unable to express the whirlwind of emotions that overwhelmed me. Brent, with tears in his eyes, held my hand gently and insisted, "Stay with me, sweetheart. You're strong, and we need you." His every word was a reminder that despite the barriers between life and death, true love transcends any adversity. When I felt his warm, firm hand, something in me woke up. Even though my body was fragile, a spark of life continued to burn within me. Between the murmurs of professionals and the distant sounds of monitors, I tried to focus on the feeling of being back, in that familiar space of pain and hope. The transition was not smooth. Every movement required a fight against exhaustion, and every breath was a victory over fate. I'm back, I thought with determination, as reality slowly set in around me. The atmosphere of the hospital, with its flashing lights and constant hum of equipment, contrasted sharply with the serenity of the world I had visited. However, there, in that modest room, the reunion with my own existence was full of meaning. As doctors administered care and Brent whispered words of encouragement, I felt this battle for life was just a new phase in a journey that would never end. Returning to my body, although full of hope, brought with it a whirlwind of challenges. In the hospital room, every breath was an effort and every heartbeat a painful reminder that I was fighting to get back on my feet. Around me, the sound of monitors and the constant murmur of nurses, conversations created a scenario of urgency and care, but also of uncertainty. "Zephrine, you're healing slowly but surely," Brent said, holding my hand gently. His eyes revealed a mixture of relief and concern. As I tried to open my eyes, the blurred vision still reminded me of the moments I spent between two worlds. I know I'm back," I murmured, my voice weak and trembling, as if each word required a superhuman effort. Brent squeezed my hand, encouraging me to fight through the pain. The following days turned into a silent battle, in which time seemed to stretch each second into an endless cycle of agony and hope. Amid the medical care and medications that helped ease the pain, I found myself torn between what I had experienced and the arduous reality of recovery. Every movement of my weakened body brought back memories of the tunnel of light and Seraphiel's comforting touch. Was that place real, or just a figment of my imagination? I thought, as the physical scars mixed with the invisible marks left by the transcendental experience. A nurse named Marjorie approached with a kind look and a soft voice. "Zephrine, you have faced a difficult path, but your courage is inspiring. If you need to talk, I'm here." The empathy in her words broke some of the ice I felt inside me. And, in a moment of vulnerability, I briefly shared some fragments of my experience. I saw a place where everything was light, and where my every gesture was a symphony of love and regret, I confessed, not knowing if she would understand the depth of what I had experienced. Marjorie, with a slight smile, replied, "Sometimes our experiences take us places no one else can see. The important thing is that you are here, fighting and healing." Even with the support and care of those around me, recovery wasn't just physical. The mind, filled with memories of the crossing, struggled to accept the duality between the spiritual world and the material world. During the long hours of medication and rest, my thoughts often turned to Brent and Kai, who, with their hopeful looks, reminded me of why I needed to keep going. On an especially difficult night, as the pain intensified and loneliness threatened to take over, I heard Brent's soft voice whisper, "Remember, Zephrine, that even in the darkest times, the love of our family is the light that will guide you." These words became a mantra that helped fill the void left by despair. As time passed, physiotherapy and intensive care sessions mixed with moments of introspection. Each small victory, a painless movement, a shy smile, a coherent word, was celebrated as if it were a rebirth. However, the emotional challenges persisted. The memory of the spiritual experience, the beauty and pain of the threshold between two worlds, often invaded my thoughts, bringing with them a nostalgia and a questioning about what really defines life. In the midst of this whirlwind of feelings, I realized that true recovery required not only healing the body, but also accepting what had been experienced. Brent's support, Marjorie's understanding, and Kai's unconditional love were the pillars that sustained me. So, even with the pain that persisted, I began to see each day as a new opportunity to reconnect with the essence of my existence, learning that the healing journey is as complex and transformative as the crossing between light and shadows. The physical pain and daily struggles in the hospital alone were enough to shake anyone. However, what followed was a metamorphosis that touched the essence of my being. During the long hours of recovery, between physical therapy sessions and solitary moments of reflection, I realized that the transcendental experience had left deep marks on my soul. Amid the uncertainty, I started looking for ways to reconnect with that peace I felt on the other side. I decided to explore meditation as a way to find a balance between the physical and spiritual world. In a room lit by soft evening light, I closed my eyes and let my mind wander freely. With each breath, I felt that it was possible to access an internal space of calm and understanding, where the pain and scars of the accident were softened by the strength of love and introspection. I can be more than my limitations, I repeated to myself, as I surrendered to a state of stillness and acceptance. During these moments, the figure of Seraphiel, the angel who had guided me on my journey, manifested itself in my memories. He was no longer just an ethereal presence, but a symbol of transformation and renewal. Remember, Zephyrin, true strength lies in accepting your inner self, her soft voice echoed, encouraging me to look beyond the visible scars and see the beauty of rebirth. This memory became the anchor point for my transformation. Every time I felt overwhelmed by pain or despair, I closed my eyes and immersed myself in meditation, finding, even if for a moment, that sanctuary of inner light. My daily routine began to be permeated by small rituals of self-knowledge. Kai's innocent smile, Brent's steady and comforting gaze, and even the kind words of Marjorie the nurse were constant sources of inspiration. One afternoon, while playing with Kai in the hospital garden, I saw the purity in his eyes and felt that he was a living reminder of the importance of living in the present. Every moment is a gift, I thought, realizing that despite being touched by the other side, I still had a life full of possibilities here on Earth. The internal transformation did not occur immediately. There were days when the weight of memories and emotional pain threatened to consume me. On one of those nights, sitting alone in my room, silent tears rolled down my face as I tried to make sense of the whirlwind of feelings. Why do I feel this longing for the other world? I asked, without finding immediate answers. However, as the days turned into weeks, I began to realize that the real change was in the way I approached life. I learned to value every gesture, every word, and most importantly, to be kind to myself. Gradually, meditation, introspection, and the love of those around me were weaving a new pattern of existence within me. I felt that every physical pain, every battle fought, contributed to the maturation of my soul. The internal transformation showed me that true healing was not just restoring the body, but rescuing the essence that is often lost in everyday routines and fears. In this process of self-discovery, I rediscovered the conviction that living fully meant embracing every emotion, every challenge, and, above all, every small victory. The path to internal transformation was long and, at times, lonely. But with each new dawn, I felt more prepared to face the world with a renewed outlook, full of gratitude and compassion for myself and others. When the internal transformation began to solidify, I realized that carrying this unique experience in silence was not enough. I wanted those around me to feel a little of the light I had found, not so that they would follow the same path, but so that they could see that, even in the face of the greatest challenges, there is always a trace of hope and redemption. Little by little, I started subtle conversations with friends and family, sharing snippets of my journey. In a quiet meeting in our living room, as the sun set over the Chicago skyline, Brent asked curiously, "Zephyrin, you look different. There's something in his eyes, a piece that I've never seen before. What happened?" I hesitated for a moment, choosing my words carefully, as the transcendental experience was something that, although real to me, might sound unbelievable to others. Sometimes life takes us down unexpected paths, I began, my voice full of emotion. I had an experience that changed everything. I can't explain it exactly, but I felt like I went through a portal where everything was light, knowledge, and even shadows that taught me the value of redemption. As I told him, Brent's expression softened, showing a mixture of admiration and empathy. Even though he was skeptical at times, he had always supported my journey. Even without understanding all the details, Little by little, I began to participate in informal meetings, support groups, and even conversation circles where other people shared experiences of overcoming things. In one of these meetings, a serene-looking woman named Lydia confided, "I've always been afraid of death, but hearing your story made me realize that, perhaps, what exists beyond us is just a continuation of life." Each statement, each word shared, helped transform fear into understanding and pain into learning. The truth I discovered, that life is made of cycles and that darkness can give way to light, was passed on, not through great lectures or books, but through simple and sincere dialogues. In coffee conversations, while the aroma of espresso filled the room, I said, "It's not about having all the answers, but about understanding that each of us has a divine spark that, sometimes, needs to be rekindled through adversity." My friends listened intently, and even though some remained skeptical, many found comfort in the words I shared. In addition to informal meetings, small gestures became part of my new purpose. Visiting people suffering from loss, offering a shoulder to lean on in moments of despair, and simply being present became my way of reciprocating the learning that the experience gave me. Every conversation, every smile or tear shared, reinforced the message that living is, above all, an act of courage and compassion. Even without the intention of becoming a spiritual guru or a spokesperson for a new era, I realized that my trajectory had immeasurable value for those who needed a light in the darkness. Over time, I began to see that the simple act of sharing my story created a chain of hope, an invisible network that connected souls seeking comfort and renewal. As I reflected on this journey, I understood that the true purpose does not lie in changing the world, but in touching lives, inspiring and, above all, showing that, regardless of the challenges, each of us can find our own path to the light.